Today we are doing some bead roller practicing. So what I've got behind me on the bench, I have got a bead roller that you can see there, and over here, just turn this round slightly, we have an English wheel. So yes, so stay tuned and you'll see how I get on with these tools. So this is the bulkhead, as you've seen before. Skinning it in steel, and so as it looks a little bit more like a factory original panel, I'm going to be putting some. I'm going to press this shape. You can see that shape that I've drawn around that panel there. I'm going to press that shape into that panel. I need to finish marking out this panel as well, so I can press another shape into that panel, following the shape of the panel. The centre section I'll leave it plain, leave it untouched, and there will be another piece of steelwork which goes along the back of the dashboard, the back of the bulkhead here, and I'll put a couple of forms in that. Not fully decided what I'm going to do with that yet, but there'll be a couple of pressed forms in that as well. So that's what I'm doing. So today we're practicing on these panels with the English wheel and the bead roller. So I'm just marking these little test pieces out. So here's one I did earlier in Blue Peter fashion. So that's the I think that's the 1/8 of an inch deep stepping die. And this one is the 1/4 inch stepping die. So you can see there's not a huge amount of difference between the two, but the idea is to, when you finish with them, they want to be nice and flat. If you can see there, that's nice and flat. There's no oil canning in it, so that when you come to weld it up, it sits fairly flat. And anything that's a little bit out, you can just take it up as you tack it on, and you'll end up with a nice flat panel. So these are only the second two I've done. You can see that was the first one I did. There's no oil canning on it. It's a little bit, it rocks a little bit, but there's no oil canning, because what I did is I pre-stretched them beforehand. So this is the one I'm going to do now. So you can see the bead roller over there, and that's the English wheel. I've had a bit of a play around with it to try and take. It's not an expensive English wheel. I think new they're only about £220 new, but we bought this one second hand for about, I think my mate paid £60 for it. Bought it at the same time as the bead roller. The bead roller that comes with a stand, and new that was £220 plus about £20 delivery. I got the same unit for £150. So. And the bead roller happened to be with the unit when we got there, and the guy was selling that too. So fortunately for me, because I didn't know I needed it at the time, my mate Steve bought it. So it's on my bench now. Right, it's always best to wear gloves when handling sheet metal. So you can see I've marked that out. What we're going to do now, I'm going to pre-stretch it in the English wheel. So take it up, says it's So the wheels are just touching. So I'll roll it in. It'll hold the material there. What I'm going to do is going to mark one side of it with a little cross, and I can count how many revolutions I do of this little track that I've made on the steel. I'm using, just for practice, I'm using some galvanised steel that I had left over from building the powder coater oven. So it's not good enough for anything else. I can't really use it for welding because it's galvanised, so I thought I'd have a practice with it on this. So the wheel is in line in the middle there of the little circuit that I'm drawing, and that's going to put some pressure on that, probably a couple of turns, and then I'm going to start counting the tracks. I'm just going to push it through, keeping the centre of the mark that I've made in the middle of the top wheel. That's 10, that's halfway through, and I can already see a bit of a shape appearing, a bit like that, that sort of a shape, so it's curving that way and that way, which is exactly what I wanted to do. So this is pre-stretching the part so that when I eventually put the bead in, not the bead, the step, put the stepping die on, it will end up nice and flat. I'm going to put a bit more tension on it now. Another turn. So if you can see that, now there is some curvature, not a huge amount, but just enough there to stretch it. So what it's actually done, I've gone around this circuit, and it's because the metal is pinched between the two rollers, it's like rolling pastry out. So it squashed the metal out there, so stretching it sideways, but because it can't go anywhere because of this, the boundary is the edge of the metal, which isn't being stretched, it's just being stretched around this shape in the middle. Because it stretches, the only way it can go is up, so it's raised it up in the middle, ready for me to put the bead in. That's the theory anyway, so we'll see how we go with the bead. So we've got this panel here now, and we'll put it into the bead roller, and we'll have another go. So this time we're going to put the 1.5 turns on it. So let's just see if we can go. Right, 1.5. Right, wish me luck. Right, take some concentration. That was. So that's the bead put in. It's not too bad. You can just see a little witness of where I started and finished, but that's not too bad. Yeah, there's a bit of a witness of it running around, so probably a bit less pressure. Try a bit less pressure on the next one. So straight out the die, it's rocking a bit, but there doesn't seem to be any oil canning, so I'm just going to bend these corners back up. You saw me just bending them slightly just to clear the machine as I was turning the corner. Certainly no oil canning. Certainly a bit of rocking, but there's definitely no oil canning there. I think there's probably a little bit too much pressure, because it's made a secondary mark around there, which is probably not really what I wanted. So the next one I'll just try 1.5 turns. So that was it's only the third one I've done. So third practice one. So I'm going to keep practicing. I'm going to try changing the settings slightly just to tweak it, just to see if I can get rid of that second line around there, because it's probably a little bit too much clamping pressure that causes that. So I'll try 1.5 turns on the next one, but I think I'll stick with the 1/4 inch one. It seems to be a slightly nicer die in terms of the form. So I'll keep practicing before I hit the car in anger. So hope you enjoyed that, hope you learned something from it, and stay tuned, there's plenty more to come.